Thank you, Senator Romney. And Senator Kaine, thank you for spelling me in the chair for a little while.
Absolutely. Thank you, Senator Van Hollen. And to all of the nominees, congratulations. You're well suited for your positions. Mr. Libby, let me start with you. I just want to follow up a little bit on Senator Menendez with respect to Nagorno-Karabakh and the Lachen corridor being closed. You talked about the peace process, the path forward as having a short, medium, and long-term component, which we completely get. My worry, though, is the closure of the corridor should definitely be on the short term, not for resolution of the long-term issues, because it strands 120,000 ethnic Armenians without access to medical care, gasoline, food. The U.S. has been pretty full-throated in condemning the closure. Administrator Power with USAID, other U.S. officials, UNICEF, UN agencies have called for it to be open. And I just would want your commitment that you'll continue that clear U.S. message that however it takes to get us to a medium and long-term solution, the closure of this Lachen corridor by the Azerbaijani activists, likely with the backing of the Azerbaijan government, is a clear and present challenge to those citizens, and we should be doing all we can to expeditiously seek its reopening. Do you agree with me on that?
Yes, Senator, I do, and thank you for that question. That's been a strong point by the administration, as you noted, by Administrator Power, and I share that sense of urgency. We've got to solve that problem and get traffic flowing again. I absolutely agree with that, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kagan, I want to ask you a question dealing with an issue that's important in Malaysia, but also very important in Virginia, and it deals with the Chinese treatment of Uyghurs. The Malaysian Prime Minister Ibrahim has refrained from publicly criticizing China on the Uyghur genocide, but Malaysia has been a rare Muslim-majority country that has been granting safe passage to Uyghurs and refusing to extradite them back to China. Virginia is home of one of the largest Uyghur American communities in the U.S., and many of those families have family members in the Uyghur area of China who are being persecuted. We've been working with a number of Virginia families because their relatives have been unjustly imprisoned by the Chinese Communist Party simply for being Uyghur. The CCP's widely documented genocide against Uyghurs and other ethnic and religious minority groups in Xinjiang remains a clear affront to human rights. You've been in Kuala Lumpur in the past. You know it well. Malaysia does appear more willing than most Muslim countries to offer support to Uyghurs escaping persecution from the CCP. What do you attribute that to, and what more can we do to support the Malaysian government in those humanitarian efforts?
Thank you very much for your question, Senator. And I want to start off by just saying I was remiss in not thanking you earlier for your very kind introduction, which I appreciate very much. I think that there's a couple of things that you've put your fingers on. I think one is that Malaysia has a long history of tolerance and support for victims of political violence and for refugees, going back to the large numbers of Vietnamese boat people who were harbored in Malaysia, and many of whom then came on to the United States from there. I think that there is also no question that Malaysians are, very sensitive to the dynamics of oppression of Muslims around the world. And I think that they are aware of the genocide and the repression and human rights abuses against Uyghurs. So I think that this is an area where, if confirmed, I would want to do a couple of things. One is work with the Malaysian government. But I think that in this, it's also very important to work with Malaysian civil society to promote greater awareness and understanding of what is happening. And I think that we're lucky that in Malaysia, there is a partner that isn't turning a blind eye to the terrible things that are happening in Xinjiang. Thank you, Senator.
I think you're right. We're lucky to have a partner that recognizes that. There's an awful lot of backsliding in the world against protection of those who are persecuted for human rights reasons. And there's also, if not backsliding, often a coldly business calculation that we could stand up for values, but it might cost us in other ways. And so people aren't willing to stand up for values. Governments aren't willing to stand up. And so since Malaysia has a history of doing this, that needs to not only be encouraged, but even spotlit so that nations around the world understand the value that they're providing. The last thing I'll just say, Ms. Biswal, the OIG issued a report in FY 2023 with sort of 4 top management challenges for your agency. And they aren't really management challenges in the sense of, you know, big problems. I think morale was pretty high, but a new agency getting off the ground that's, you know, grappling with making the structure really work. And I just would like your commitment. I think that OIG report was a solid one, and I would just like your commitment that you would take that very seriously in working with this new agency to help it be all it can be.
Yes, Senator, you absolutely have that commitment, and I, if confirmed, intend to focus quite a bit on the management aspects of the job.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks to all the witnesses. Yield.